Good morning, and welcome back to the Essay Desk, episode 55. Somewhere in your city right now, a delivery rider is racing a countdown clock that no law has yet learned to read. Today, we decode that exact tension because it sits at the meeting point of two of the hottest families the UPSC essay paper keeps returning to: the last person's justice and the modern self's technology. Let us build it together. Here is today's topic. The rider earns by the minute. The law protects him by the year. This is a socio-economic aphorism, the kind Section B has been leaning into, a plain image carrying a policy question underneath it. Its home theme, family, is society, justice, and the last person. A family the paper has returned to before, and it now draws extra heat from the technology and the modern self family, because the last person here works for an algorithm. That double parentage is exactly why an examiner would find this topic fresh. Start, as always, by sitting with the words before you touch the pen. The rider is paid by the minute, timed, tracked, and rated. His income arriving in real time through an app. The law, by contrast, protects him by the year, through a code passed years ago that still waits to be fully enforced, through a budget line announced once a season, through a state act that took years more to arrive. The real tension is a mismatch of tempo. An economy that has learned to move at the speed of a notification, regulated by a state that still moves at the speed of a gazette. Fix your thesis early. Something like this: labor justice in India will stay incomplete until the law learns to deliver dignity at the same tempo as the economy extracts labor, not as a deferred promise, but as a right delivered in real time. Once the thesis is fixed, choose your dimensions and let each one answer a question the last one raised. Open with the economic scale of this workforce, then narrow to the social question of who the last person actually is. Often a migrant, often a first generation earner. Move next to the constitutional and legal register, the promise of just and humane conditions of work, and how far the statute book has actually traveled. Then widen to the federal picture, several states legislating where the center has paused, and to the technological dimension, an algorithm that manages performance but disowns responsibility. Only after building this case should you turn and meet the counter view honestly. That flexibility itself is the attraction for many workers. Before resolving the two into a forward-looking synthesis. Anchors are evidence, so use them and then interpret them. Never let a number simply sit on the page. NITI Aayog's own estimate puts India's gig and platform workforce at about 1 crore in 2024 to 25, rising toward 2 crore 35 lakh by 2029 to 30. A figure that tells you this is no longer a marginal arrangement, but a structural feature of Indian employment. Follow it immediately with the law's own tempo. The Code on Social Security, passed in 2020, which for the first time defined a gig worker and a platform worker, yet is still being operationalized years later, even as courts continue to work out what counts as an industry under the older labor framework. Then bring in the federal improvisation, Rajasthan's law of 2023, and newer legislation in Karnataka and Telangana. Each state writing its own answer because the center's answer has not yet reached everywhere. 3 anchors, 3 different tempos, 1 single argument. For this topic, resist the definition and resist the headline. Open instead on a scene, the rider's phone glowing on the handlebar, a countdown ticking toward a rating that decides tomorrow's work. And let that image quietly carry your first data point a sentence later. Build your dimensions, meet the counter view without flinching, and then in your conclusion, return to that same rider. Do not summarize what you have already argued. Resolve it. Perhaps by imagining a single portable social security number that travels with him from one platform to the next, so that his dignity does not depend on which app he happens to open that morning. That circular return is what makes an examiner remember your script. Here is one opening line you could make your own. The city sleeps in installments, but the rider's timer never does. And here is a closing line to sit beside it. A republic that can track a worker's every minute owes him, at the very least, a law that keeps the same pace. Notice how both lines return to the same image, the clock, so the whole essay feels like one thought and not two. Let us recap quickly. Decode the topic for its real tension. Here, a mismatch of tempo between economy and law. Fix a single thesis and hold it end to end. Weave your dimensions, economic, social, legal, federal, technological, and the honest counter view into one moving argument. Anchor every claim with a sourced number you then interpret, and close by returning to your opening image with a genuine vision. Decode, argue, build, anchor, and close. That is the whole craft. That is today's masterclass. The syllabus of this paper is really just human experience, so keep reading widely and keep writing by hand, because the exam rewards the person who has genuinely thought, not the person who has merely revised. To all of you preparing through long, uncertain months, today's small paragraph of practice is still building the muscle that will carry you on exam day. If you would like the full paid brief, 2 complete model essays with the examiner's margin notes 3 times a week, drop your email in the comments or write to team@upscdesk.com. See you tomorrow.